is Anna Dotrelova. I'm the EMEA compensation leader in Johnson & Johnson. And as you said, today I'll share some of our experiences moving the total rewards function into global services. I'm also going to have some questions in the poll section, so it would be great if you could provide some answers. So let's get started. What I'd like to cover today is basically the following. I'm going to provide a short introduction into Johnson & Johnson and global services, but I'll try to spend most of the time talking about the TR setup and specific benefits of hosting the function within an internal shared service organization. So let's start with J&J. So it's said that we are actually the largest healthcare company that nobody really fully knows. We've been around for more than 130 years. And as I said, we're one of the largest healthcare company in the world. We're generating over $82 billion in revenue. But as you can see, it's more than that. We have a huge list of accomplishments, and it's kind of hard to pick a few, so I'll just mention two. We're one of the only two AAA rated companies globally. And we have 18 medicines on the World Health Organization essential medicine list. And you can see the list continues. Unfortunately, I cannot spend too much time on that. Just a few more things. So we operate in 3 main business segments. Here's a quick look at some of our healthcare and well-being products. We have a wide range of portfolio. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the brands, especially in the consumer health sector. I don't know, like Neutrogena or Listerine or Band-Aid, if we have any colleagues across the Atlantic Ocean. But the offerings go beyond personal health care. We cover a lot of therapeutic areas, just to name a few, like oncology, neuroscience, or vaccines. And for our medical devices segment, it's said that we are basically have a product in every surgery room. So I'm sure you appreciate the complexity of the company and what challenges it may bring to supporting functions like HR or global services, which is where I come from. But what it is global services, or GS, as we say internally. Global Services is a shared in-house service organization. We focus on improved employee experience, effectiveness, and efficiency in the 4 areas of our activities that you can see on the right. Similar to other shared service organizations, we say that we do the right type of work at the right time in the right location. What it actually means, that means that we can take over processes that are repetitive, high volume, happen often, and are scalable. How does that translate into numbers? So the organization employs actually 4,500 people globally. Majority of the employees are located in 5 of the hubs. We have 4 regional hubs and one global hub in Manila. The TR function is actually present in each of those locations, and I think it's the time that we look at the results of the first questions, which was whether the other teams have also standardized TR function for benefits and compensation. Unfortunately, I apologize, I cannot see the results. So Peter, could I ask for your help?
Yeah, you can, but unfortunately I can't give it to you because I can't see them either. So I'm looking at the platform and I can't see them pop up there. So
okay.
yeah. So if I get anything on that, I will let you know. But so far, haven't got it.
Okay, so maybe we can get to it later if we get to the results later. But I think the general understanding that it's not something that is standard to have the TR function hosted within a shared service organization centrally. So this is what I want to cover further, is how we actually became part of GS and what kind of benefits it brings.
I've actually got I've got your answer now. So, do you have regionally centralized teams to administer comp and ben? And the just under half the companies, 48%, say no, and then others will either say yes, we have a bit of both, and the numbers are still moving around a little bit. Yes for compensation, 17%. Yes for benefits, 4%. So yeah, the majority are with you that they don't have it. They don't have it centralized.
Okay, so thanks. So hopefully it will be some new information for those that don't handle it the same way like we do. So basically, a little bit from the history. So the global services setup was done initially in North America in 2015, covering the main 4 service areas. In 2017, the model was translated in the EMEA region. What it meant for HR is the following 4 sub-functions were moved under the model. Just let me describe them, what it means. So people experience operations is basically the employee lifecycle management. It's the admin team that is responsible for creating contracts, changing employee records, and exit management, then recruitment, employee and labor relations. So this is the team responsible for specific employee grievances, as well as credo issues. So I would call it some ethical concerns raised by the employees, reduction in force, and also worker council relationships. Last but not least, it's the contact center, which serves as the first point of contact for any employee queries. So all these 4 sub-functions were actually crucial and essential for us to be able to set up the total rewards function in EMEA, which happened in September 2018. And within EMEA, the function is located in the EMEA Prague hub. As this is exactly not the traditional approach as the survey showed, I'll spend some time describing what made it possible and what is the scope of both the regional and the global teams. So basically, the TR function within J&J is split into 2 main groups: corporate services and regional global services, which is the team that I come from. You can see quite a detailed list on the slide, but I think the main big difference is the fact that the corporate services team is responsible for strategic type of activities. They define the rules, serve as a connection between the global and regional, and they spend a lot of time on designing our global programs. The GS team, the global services team, is responsible for transactional activities that are operational in nature, and also to go-to-market activities. But what made the setup actually possible, and what enabled our success in this area? So I think we could kind of bucket the list down there into 3 main sections. One is basically the environment. So as I said, the implementation of the GS model in HR, basically central administration support, as well as functioning contact center, This is really important because it ensures that the TR team is not burdened by easy requests or requests that non-specialist type of employee can work. So basically all questions go to the CC team first, so the contact center goes through them and either resolves them themselves or they move it to the TR team or the admin team. The second really important enabler is the governance framework. So we have global policies, global guidelines, and global compensation framework. It's all aligned across the whole globe. And lastly, the system setup. So we have a ticketing system. We're using Salesforce to ensure we keep track of all the requests. We also have one source of truth for the HR data. We use Workday. And for benefits, we have delivery support through third party, which is Aon using the For Your Benefits portal. So let me move down further to what is actually in scope for the Global Services Total Rewards team. We have two teams. They're both hosted in Prague, and we have a very limited support in the Manila hub. From the responsibilities, the compensation services team is responsible for salary structures, any benchmarking activities happening in the region, year-end and year-round processes. This is where we spend most of our time on. We approve non-standard offers and any above guidance compensation actions. We also help the business set up retention programs, and if needed, we participate in any compliance activities or activities connected to acquisitions and divestitures. Our scope, kind of pay grade wise, goes up to the VP1 level. And anything above that is handled globally by the central corporate services team. In terms of benefits, they are responsible for implementation and changes to benefits or programs. They are responsible for exception handling. They manage the performance of the service providers and, of course, invoice processing and reconciliation oversight. And they, as similar to compensation, also cover anything related to mergers and acquisitions as needed. This is really briefly covering kind of the framework, what we operate in, what is our scope, and how are we settled within the organization. But now I would like to cover the biggest part of my presentation is how this setup is actually enabling a better employee experience in compensation and as benefits. Because when we talk about shared services organization, either internal or external, I think the understanding is that it's always about the cost benefit. However, I think that we have brought a lot of benefits that really go beyond the cost savings. So let's have a look at them. We can actually differentiate them into four main categories. And if you had the opportunity to participate yesterday, most of them actually copy what was covered under the procedural justice within the equity theory. So the first one is improved experience. So we basically treat everyone the same way. We're using consistent rules and methodology to drive the decisions. All exception requests have clear rules that are being followed. And we also keep track of how fast we answer the different queries. And there are really like no lost emails or gaps where you need to wait for a certain decision to be made just because someone is on vacation or sick. We also conduct regular surveys, mainly in the benefits category, but all the customers get a survey link when the case is closed, and we are using that to kind of improve our processes, as I'll show you later. The second point is self-service. Basically, the employee is encouraged and maybe from some point of view forced to use as much self-service as possible. It enables them to be kind of self-sufficient. They can really find most of the things that they need for compensation and benefits themselves. If they cannot find the solution online, they have different channels that they could use. So it would be contact center. They can call or email them, or they can chat with them, and it's actually used for everybody. So even the VPs in the organization log their own cases, and it's a very, I would say, fair and equalitarian solution. But before I move to the point number 3, I'd like to have a look at the results of the poll, if we have them. Okay. I cannot see the second question. I apologize.
Don't worry, it's fine. I'm just keeping an eye on it, and the poll is up there for everybody to participate in. It takes a few minutes to come up. So, and I think I also want to just mention that probably that split last time was more equal than I led you to expect, because once you include people who either do it for benefits or compensation or both, it was pretty evenly split between the two. Yeah. So I'm still waiting for a bit of a result on this, not getting it, but it will come. So okay. I was going to ask you something, which while we're waiting for that, a lot of this is quite cultural, isn't it? Have you got quite a disciplined organisation when you think about manager self-service and all that kind of thing? I've got the results, so just hold that question in your mind. I'll come back to it later. So do you have capability to track your C&B team's volume and type of work? And 78% of people say no. So, this is a big advantage that you're getting from being able to do this.
Yeah, so actually I think this is the biggest advantage that we have. So we can track all the questions. We can see how it processed through the system. What was the timeliness? We can see the associated employee response if the person actually decided to join the survey. And as I'll show you later, we actually use it to improve the process as well as the customer experience. So that brings me to point number 3. As I said, this reporting that we have is actually real time. So I can go into the system all the time and see where my team is, how my team is doing, what are the type of cases that are being handled, and where we need, if we need to, change the structure of the team for a day or two, just to ensure that people are not waiting. It also gives us, it also allows us to kind of analyze the seasonality of our work and plan the work around the peak times. So we try to do our improvement projects in the times when the volumes are low. And right now we have more than 2 years of data, so it's actually pretty easy to see where are the times where we should not participate in any special projects or activities. The last point, the last benefit that I'd like to cover are the controls. So we have full ownership of the processes that we own, and we can improve them and tweak them. So, for example, a compensation-specific activity, the salary structures reviews. So in the past 2 years, when we're handling the processes centrally, we were able to improve our match rate of the price jobs by 18 percentage points, and we speeded up the process by 2 months. So that's great. For the benefits, they really work hard on harmonizing the benefits and implementing the global ones. Connected to the kind of the global structure, basically any exceptions have a clear rules about who can approve them and you know what process needs to be followed. But actually majority of them can be either approved or decided upon by our regional team. Only the very minority go to the global team to decide on. And now I'd like to spend a few minutes on some of the examples. So how we actually leverage the data from the system. So what you see on the slide here is a snapshot example of the Salaries tool that we're using to do our process mining as well as reporting. On the left side, you can see a few statistics. This particularly relates to non-standard offers. It's a regional view, but we can drill down up to a case level. So you can see that we have handled almost 300 cases. On average, it takes us 6 days to close that. You can see that almost 90% were closed within the target, and that our net promoter score was really good, which means that people would actually recommend our services to anyone if asked. Then you can see the process of an average case, how it flows through the system. On the upper side, you can see our volumes going up and down, connected to our year-end cycle and the blackout periods. And then you can see an overview example of how the analyst's status is in terms of volume, time to close, and adherence to the target. You can see that some of them are red. So there is actually an explanation to that. Both Michal and Lucia are handling the more complex cases, so it's actually expected that they would not be meeting the SLA targets. Let's move to process mining. So this is an example of difference between two case types. I would say just a little bit of background on this. So when we close a case, the customer actually has an option to reopen it, so we can modify our decisions. This is not something that we like to happen, because from the customer point of view, the case was actually not resolved. But we can analyze it and we can see how it actually impacts both the timeliness as well as customer satisfaction. So we can deep dive into those that were unresolved and ensure that this does not happen. However, it's understandable that we will never be able to reach 0 unresolved cases, because some customers are just not happy with the result, and it unfortunately cannot be changed. Last example from the process mining. So you can see on the left a case, like a linear case that went as it should. So it just progressed through the system. There was some back and forth with the customer. But on the right, you can see an example of a case that came out through our analysis as a case with a really long lead time. And what actually happened there is that the case changed owner 7 times. So it was something like a ping pong case, moving from contact center to TR or payroll or admin team and back and forth. And what we discovered by the analysis of this particular case was that we were actually missing an owner for a particular local policy, and as a result, we were able to fix this issue. So I'm running out of time, so I'll just really skip briefly through this one, and I'll spend a minute on the intelligent automation, because I think there was some interest in that. So as I said, the high volume and the repeatable nature of the actions enable us to leverage automation. This is an example of our tool that we created for our Manila team that enables them to approve certain transactions on our behalf. So what goes into the tool is like the information from the global compensation framework, the rules from the governance metrics. It pulls data from the HR information system, as well as specific data points connected to the transaction itself. And then the tool basically pops up a standardized amount of statistics, but most importantly, it tells the admin team whether they can approve on our behalf or not. But the tool also sends out closure statistics. So what we can do later on is we can analyze those that were not approved by the admin team, but approved by the specialists. And we can kind of tweak the rules further so that as little amount of cases goes to the specialist and they can focus really on only on the most complex cases there are. So I think that was it from me. So I hope that I've convinced you that there is some value add of having the TR function within global services, and that
you've certainly convinced me. You've convinced me. I think this is fantastic because it shows what's possible. In my view, reward in many ways is nothing but rules and numbers. And so if you can't automate that, you can't automate anything. And even exceptions are kind of rule of one, so you can then measure the degree to which you're making exceptions too. And all of that is stunningly useful. I think my biggest question to you before we conclude your session would be around culture, because in Unilever, we definitely have moved strongly in this direction, but we definitely faced a problem of culture within HR itself. In other words, HR business partners didn't like to give up decision-making responsibilities or rights, I think is probably a better way of putting it. And so they were quite happy to effectively outsource to services decisions that they were not interested in themselves, so it became very basic. But unfortunately, not much else was resolved within the services organization until we made a lot of further changes. And an example of this would be, HR typically tell people what to do, then they tell people how to do it, and then they do it for them. And that doesn't help you with things like self-service, because that idea of themselves as being people who provide the service was something they found difficult to let go. Have you had a similar kind of experience in Johnson & Johnson?
So I think from the TR point of view, I think what helped us really tremendously is the company culture that really puts like peer equity and fairness as point number one in all the decisions that we're making. So as a result, even for those for whom it was harder to kind of accept the model, if you take the point of view that it actually ensures that everyone is treated equally, and there is fairness, there is the subjectivity in terms of decision and approval of the exceptions is limited. This is the way how I think most of the customers were able to accept that.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because you've really picked up on that point that Xavier made yesterday about procedure equity. So you're really saying that what this does is increase the perception of fair treatment, and that's one of the biggest advantages you've got in pushing this kind of thing. Now, as before, you have stimulated a lot of questions on the Q&A. Maybe you'd like to go and have a look at that. You could respond to some of those. I think people would find that really helpful. A brilliant subject, and I hope one that we could return to maybe in a panel discussion to a degree as to how we can actually capture all of the possibilities that you've begun to describe in your presentation. So thank you very much on behalf of everybody, Anna. That was really very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.